About 306 miles on it. So the rest gonna be race miles up to you. So I'm hoping you guys give your feedback. Like for instance, Afraz, your experience in turbo front wheel drive. That's your bread and butter. Your open wheel Formula One prototype driver. That's totally different from him. Sanjay's a rotary driver.
Never been in a Formula
And you got the master of all.
This is Mr. Wendel. He's the whole head of us.
Front wheel drive.
Yeah. He's a 40 plus STCA, a lot of records.
Based on like my experience in the Formula 3 stuff, I'm really looking forward to figuring out how the car handles on the entry. Because of the front wheel drive, it will really allow the car to rotate on the entry. So I'm looking to find that balance with the car. I have the experience driving the rear drive Formula cars, so we'll see how it goes. We're going to do first impressions of the car. Straight away you can feel the turn-in capability of the car. Legendary uphill. Woo, car gets light. The turning stability of the car is tremendous. Down the hill, amazing. Downhill. Oh, getting the back end out a little bit. Down a gear, turn it into big bend. The front end of this car on the turn-in is epic. Get a little bit of curve. In the change of direction, the car is amazing. There we go. Stability in the uphill. This is epic. You can really feel the lack of weight that the car has.
just learning the track now,
Yeah,
you know. And with a front-wheel drive that I've never driven before.
This is definitely one of my favorite tracks in this entire country.
Because I'm used to driving RX-7s and S2000s. You know?
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem now. But hey, it's gonna be a new experience. This car is more than I expected, but it went around the corner, there was no torque steer, and it was kicking that BMW's ass. Right? The BMW M6 tried to keep up with me. There's no way in hell he kept up with me. You know? Once I got a hang of it, it moved. I could not believe this thing, but this car is phenomenal, inside and out. You know? Whoa. I need a drink.
So like you really get a sense of the lack of weight of the car, similar to the Formula cars that I drive.
You could throw it around.
Exactly. You
could throw it around and catch it.
Once you get used to the braking performance of the car, you really are able to roll the speed right through the entry of the corner.
Way too much brakes in EV.
Once the tires heat up, there is no torque steer. Nothing.
So let me get this clear. You felt torque steer before you heat up?
On the very first lap, I gave it a little bit of throttle in third gear, and you feel the front started to move around. But on the second, third, fourth lap, no torque steer.
But I was lucky. I got it after he heat the tires up.
So you don't even know what torque steer feels like.
For me, it was like, okay, the brakes are too good on this car. If once you get around the braking performance and you start looking at how the car handles mid-corner to exit, amazing. The chassis is super capable.
So scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I give it a solid 8.5.
8.5. What's missing in that 2.5?
You need the brakes. Like with the front-wheel drive car, having some experience driving also GT cars in the Caribbean, you need to have a brake pedal that you can modulate. And with this car, the brakes are so sudden,
Killing you.
you can't brake and then modulate on the entry to keep the back end rotating. You kind of have to brake and then come off the brakes.
I would give it a 10 because you know what? I'd never driven a Formula car.
My name is Afraz Allie. I've been racing for just about or a little over 15 years. I don't know anything much about the Mini Cooper, you know, especially the recent models. I've actually owned a Mini Cooper way back in the 90s, I believe it was. You know, we never really did anything much with it, so I couldn't really tell you, like, you know, what the feel was. I mean, you know, it's totally different between then and now as well. I don't know much about these new cars, so this is going to be a whole totally different ball game for me. The only thing I can relate to is the car being a turbo car and it being a front wheel drive car. So in my 15 years, I've been doing drag racing and then eventually into circuit racing. I race a Toyota Starlet. It's a front wheel drive car as well. It's a short base. It's very similar in terms of the shape to the Mini. So it's, you know, I believe as though I'm going to be able to simulate exactly what that feel is. It's turbocharged, but it's only 1300cc turbo. The guy just told me today that this car is 2000cc turbo, so I'm really excited to see what it's going to give. I noticed the car is Tiptronic or paddle shifts.
Yes.
So I've never drove a paddle shift car on the road before. The closest experience I have is through, you know, the simulator games.
Lotus chassis with a three-way adjustable shocks.
Correct,
This
exactly.
is all set up by Wendel for performance on this track.
Yes.
This is adjustable, the camber is right. So turns, unbelievable. But it's a straight line that impressed me with that Mini. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean, you say the straight line, but I would tell you it's an overall package because I know there's so much more that are left on the table in the turns. You know, all because, like I said, it's just testing. So yeah, it's a pretty good car.
Anyway, it was a fun driving.
Fun driving with you again.
See you back in South Dakota.
Oh,
man.
definitely.
I'm Wendel Holmes from Jamaica, New York.
former racer of SCCA, improved touring A, driver of Integra, and this was always my home track. And
Nice.
I very well love the opportunity of going back around it for another time, which I was thinking of hanging up my boots, but this opportunity came. So I'll take it out, and then maybe later in the evening I'll take the Lotus out and just get back in the trim of things. I think I overstayed my welcome with Emro on the track. Since I didn't drive Limerock for a little while now, it felt so good to me being out there that I didn't really want to finish the session. But the car feels great, and it would encourage me to be back out here weekend in and weekend out. The only thing I felt with the car at the point in time was the uphill. The crest of the uphill, the car gets light. So you have to be careful on the uphill. But as far as the downhill, as long as you trail the brakes slightly, it's all well and good to come off the straight.
How did it feel?
The car feels good to me. I like the chassis, the handling. I think the brakes was okay. In my opinion, sometimes the brake probably wasn't holding as much for me. Maybe my braking distance was just different. But at the same time, I was just trying to feel the car out. You know, it's my friend's car, it's a new car. You know, there's only so much that you want to do in testing, right? So I think the brakes was fine in my opinion. The handling was good. Before driving the car, I was told that the torque was insane. But comparing it to my car, which is probably not a fair comparison, I believe I have more torque in my car. But you know, it's two different machines. So like I said, maybe it's not the right comparison. But other than that, I believe the car feels great. For a road car, for a production car, it's a beautiful car to drive.
I will give it a 9.5. It's a car that you can drive to work during the week and bring straight to the track without touching anything, and it feels really, really well on that.
Okay, so
But beyond that,
9.5. What's
9.5.
What does it need to get it?
well, the half is because I don't own it.
Man, it's the best fun I had in a long time with my clothes on.
Let's take your clothes off.
I don't think the viewers want to see that.
2 questions. One, the infamous torque steer.
There's no torque steer once the tires are warm. When I was driving it, since I bought the car, I haven't warmed the tires up. I'm always babying it. So thanks to Quinn, he's the first one that pointed it out. No torque steer.
Copy that. Second question, which I wanted to hear if anybody answered or would have mentioned, but nobody mentioned. Nobody even complained about it. Do you wish it had stick shift?
No, crazy. I got one hand. You think I want to be shifting gears like in my S2000? That's why I bought the car. You know, I was hoping for what I just experienced. Air pressure started building a little too much, so she started pushing a little bit more. But it's everything what I think they designed the car for. So I wish they made more, because viewers out there that doesn't have the opportunity to get one,